Hey guys, Reign of Jafar set champs start next weekend, so I wanted to make a brokey budget deck build. So maybe you want to be competitive, but your wallet is not as competitive, right?
Empty.
Or maybe you don't want to invest a crazy amount into a game before getting right into it. Like, for example, my first set champs, I played a deck that I made for 20 bucks and it was not very good. But I made over 20 bucks because I wasn't ready to invest hundreds and hundreds of dollars into a good meta deck. So I tried to make these decks with some consideration towards that. All these decks are under $60 as of making this video. They can definitely go up or down depending, obviously, rotations of things. So a lot of these cards in these decks are going to rotate. So keep that in mind if you are buying them for the set champs. So the first one is what I'm calling Brokey Blurple. Blurple is one of those decks that you can actually get very close to a meta build without giving up much. So the only big things that we know that we're going to lose if we're playing the under $60 build, which again, we're getting very close to this number, is Genies and Tamatoa and Hades. These are definitely big cards and cards that you don't want to lose, but we can still make a build that has some pretty strong cards in it if we don't have those cards in our deck. So the big notable cards in here that I'm playing that are not in your typical meta version are going to be this Ana Icebreaker, who has support, and then when you play this character, chosen opposing character can't ready at the start of their next turn. So I actually saw a couple builds last set champs playing this card specifically. I think that it's a strong consideration and something that can at least like freeze up something, give support to something so you can really rush in and beat it up a little bit. I'm pretty happy playing this card as a 2-quester as well, and it's just good ink. Also notable, it's a shift target for our other Ana Magical Mission, which has support, and then if you have an Elsa in play, when you quest it, you draw a card. That's the biggest notable card that we are not skipping out on when it comes to the budget build here, is we are playing 4 of these Elsas, and these Elsas range from $5 to $6. It could be more, could be less. Very strong card, and kind of what I would consider not holds the deck together necessarily, but like really does, like it bridges your mid game, lets you kill things like Diablos, lets you kill a whole bunch of stuff and have a game against the basic characters, and turn a lot of your things into removal. Especially if we're playing this Ana, which I think is a great budget card. This card is really turned on by this Elsa here, so we really can't go without that card, and I think it's too strong to not play. Worth noting is we are playing 4 McDuck Manor. This is kind of one of your like I win the game cards, and it's a great budget card that you would play even in non-budget builds in this deck. The rest of it's pretty stock. I like Ursula in this deck, where it's another cheap giant threat that it gives you game against Steel Song, which is the deck that you have the most trouble with. So just note that if you're playing in a meta with a lot of Steel Song, you don't desperately want to play Blurple. Monstro, great addition, also a nice budget card to this deck that gives you game to just kill a lot of things. So I would say the biggest things that we are missing from the normal non-budget version are Hades, Tamatoa, and Genie. Rabbit's going to do a great Genie impression, but it doesn't have evasive, which is very noteworthy. But I still think that this is a deck that you could take to a set champs and very reasonably top 8 and maybe even win, because you're still doing the degenerate things, right? Like, luckily Bell is not expensive, Popsicles are not expensive, and Friends is not expensive. So as long as you can do that degenerate thing, you're pretty strong, right? Noteworthy, Into the Unknown could be Let It Go, but Into the Unknown is making it past rotation, so this is a better investment than like a Let It Go. But you could definitely play Let It Go. If you have Hades, obviously I would recommend playing that. Playing the meta version is probably the best way to go, but this is a very solid build for under $60. So now I'm just trying to give a little bit of variety in builds that I think that you can play for these budget decks. You know, one of the toughest things I always had coming from Magic the Gathering was you would see budget builds of decks and it would just be like random aggressive deck number 5 playing bad cards. So now we go right into what I would consider a very aggressive deck. The big consideration in this deck is we don't have Strength of a Raging Fire. Strength of a Raging Fire is currently, I think, like $13, $15, and it's not making it past rotation, so I wouldn't consider that like the best budget card. This deck will struggle on the draw, obviously, as most aggro decks do. Our removal spell is going to be Fire the Cannons, which is pretty nice to get rid of turn 1 hamster from the other people, and just like kill random things or deal a last point of damage that you need to deal. This deck is pretty straightforward. Noteworthy, the one card that is sort of not super budgety, but is kind of the glue that holds the deck together, is going to be this Dock. This is really the most expensive card in the deck, I think. And basically, any aggro deck that you play, you want this card, right? You empty your hand, play this guy, draw 2 more cards. We're doing Snake and Fox shenanigans, so we can buy it back. Same thing with our Pete. This sort of core of a deck is very strong for any purple steel deck. And then after that, you kind of fill it in with like good solid aggro cards, good solid cards that get value. So like we're playing Crab as our kind of way to come back. Crab and Fox as our kind of way to come back at the going on the draw and just buying back board tempo. So very solid, aggressive deck. Don't worry that we're playing Amethyst Chronicon. You don't have to play this card, but I think this card really glues the deck together. And if you're playing this card, you're going to play Gather Knowledge and Wisdom because it makes your Uninkables less dead. So this card feels a lot better when we're drawing 2 cards a turn. We don't really care about our opponent drawing. So this deck, again, pretty straightforward, aggressive purple steel deck. Not a whole lot to explain here, but pretty strong in my opinion. So obviously it wouldn't be a piece of my content if I didn't put out a red-purple video. Obviously red-purple, the evasive builds are kind of the core of decks that are not cheap in this format, right? Maui Shark is $30 to $40 a piece always. And Iagos are climbing up there too if you want to play Iagos. So what we are doing instead is we're doing kind of a pain build, basically dealing damage to our own characters and then moving that damage and then controlling the board that way. So we have to do kind of our best impression of a deck that is controlling the game, but this is a nice control style game, right? So we're playing cards like Pan, Diablo, Ursula, Queen of Hearts, Medusa, all things to help us get through the early game. The late game, again, we don't have genie money, so we are playing Merlin Rabbit, which is just gonna like do as much work as it can until it gets rotated when Fable comes out. Because as I went through in my previous video, I can't see this card making it past rotation. Bell, another great way to synergize with our dealing damage to ourselves stuff, where it moves that damage, gets past resist, so things like Hamster are very important to kill. Maui, a card that I speculate theoretically could be reprinted and I would love gets reprinted. So this card could go up significantly if it gets reprinted. If not, we're looking at about $2.50 for these Mauis. Very strong card, very good at helping curb aggression. Hydra, a card that's getting rotated, but a very fun card in this deck specifically because we can deal damage to it with our Hades and our Medusa and just getting into combat with things to machine gun down other things. Very fun card, very strong body, difficult to deal with. Brawls fills out the curb nicely. Friends, Be Prepared. Obviously, even in my budget deck, I'm going to play 4 Be Prepared. Noteworthy that we don't know that it's making it past rotation or not, or if there's going to be some sort of stand-in for it. That'll come and we'll have to pay attention to that when that comes around. The Library, one of my personal favorite cards and a great budget card because you turn everything into an ability to leverage card advantage, right? Like if you have a Diablo in a library and you just hit something and just draw 2 cards, you're living the dream. But also, you can do my favorite combination, which is Hades, a Diablo that's in a library and draw 4 cards. It's just like so much card advantage, like you're doing so well. So this is what I would play if I was on a budget and I wanted to play a control deck. Again, something that not the ideal version of Ruby Amethyst that I personally enjoy, but definitely could take some games off people, probably land you in a top 8 out of set champs and do well. I'm a big fan of this style of deck. So the last deck I wanted to go over was Brokey Green Purple. The biggest thing we lose with Green Purple actually is probably Genie, as well as Iagos. I was trying to fit Iagos in here, but again, they're like $5 now. So if you don't have Iagos, you're kind of like in a little bit of a rough spot. But the biggest important things that we get here are we still get the big core of pile of 1-drops, so you can go turn 1 1-drop, turn 2 2 1-drops, which will win you a lot of games on the play in general. Then the other biggest thing that we've got here currently is we actually have a solid package of sort of discard and removal in the wrong lever package, which I'm a big fan of, especially in like a slower style of this deck. And then we get the nice toolbox of Crickeys, Ursula, Bell, just different things to help us deal with different things. The nice thing is we can go aggressive or we can go slower depending on if we need to, just like the normal gameplay for this deck. So I would say that this is a very solid deck for being budget. The other big thing I cut out of here too was Elsa, which again, I would play Elsa, especially if you're like, oh, I'm following more than one purple build and I want purple pass rotation. Elsa's a great card coming along, so I would always play that card. Once again, the library, this is a very toolboxy style of deck, this one. I've seen different types of decks like this that I'm a big fan of, so like, that's where we're at with this. I would add Genies, Elsas, and Diagos to this deck. And then obviously you could do the discard version where you're playing Diablo, the 3-cost one, but that card's getting rotated and it's kind of expensive. So this is a solid budget deck that I think could do very well at a set champs. So those are some Brokey budget decks that I think you could buy for $60 and maybe get your money's worth out of set champs. You know, I think you could legitimately top 8 a set champs with any of the decks that I listed here. Didn't go too crazy into actual deck teching for the decks, just mainly like just the big things that we missed out on that weren't in those builds that would be in your normal standard builds. That's kind of the nice thing. All of the decks I listed there have upgrade paths. I would say the only one that doesn't really like have a solid upgrade path, especially after rotation, is the good cards, the red purple cards that I love so much. We have to see what we get in rotation and then we'll kind of go from there. Same thing with any of the other decks, but I think that they have better upgrade paths to still have legs after rotation. That's my opinion. But I hope you like these decks. Hope you found this helpful.